From what I can see, everything is recording.
Yep.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was a bit of an ordeal.
That was an I would have hoped that by this point it would have been a really smooth process. But getting this room from point A to point B, and then also making sure that the cameras are recording right and the audio's right, I just really thought by now this would be like a 30-minute process. But what that must have been, like an hour?
I think so.
An hour
Yeah.
of you.
I mean, I'll be honest, I wasn't really helping.
You were sat there very patiently, waiting, in the most useful. I mean, no, actually, no, it was both. It was both.
Yeah.
Because there was nothing you could contribute to that.
I couldn't contribute anything,
but
other than my silence.
Other than your patience. So,
yeah.
David Hart, thank you so much, you wonderful person.
That's
what friendship's all about.
Absolutely.
Oh man, well, wonderful people. Lovely to see you all again. My name is Will Brocklebank, and
my name is David Hart,
and this is Expressions of Happiness. Dave, what the hell is Expressions of Happiness all about?
I'll tell you. Expressions. All right, we'll give you a chance.
Just speed up. It's late.
It is late. Yeah. Yes. Expressions of Happiness is seeking to answer humanity's oldest and most pressing question: what does it mean to be happy?
Do you know what makes me incredibly happy right now?
Go on.
All right, that admittedly, we have been so inundated. We've been in this moment for so long. Look right next to you.
Yeah, I know.
Why did we not feel free to take those off the table.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think they actually act as like a nice feature to the table.
Yeah.
These two huge lights.
These two huge lights, which are not turned on.
Guest appearance.
They're guests. Yeah. Hey, shout out to whatever brand that is, mate. They're amazing for the events. Yeah. Didn't fancy him today, but it's a nice. I don't know. I kind of like how the lights looking today.
Yeah, you've got a nice atmosphere here. I think it's calming.
Yeah,
it's relaxing.
It is indeed. Well, as always, when we start these episodes, we love to bring a bit of good news, and my man David Hart has brought that good news. Mm-hmm. David Hart.
Okay,
what have we got?
Yeah, so this one, again, really pertinent, and I'd love to see it become like a global scheme because I think it's brilliant. So it began in the Netherlands, and it's a union or a club called the Offline Club, and they've effectively set up these cafes where you go in and you are encouraged, if not forced, maybe. I don't know how the operation works, but it's a no technology environment. So no phones, no laptops, no work, nothing. And you basically stimulate yourself in a very different way. So you play board games, you read books, and you're in a room with effectively strangers. So you're also encouraged to just talk to people and get to know them, but through these mediums as well. And they've grown super popular. People love them, and they attend them on a daily basis, now hosting events all over the Netherlands, and they're hoping to go international with it. And introduce this premise.
I did see a news article somewhere to do with where I think they applied it to a park as well, is that you went into a park and it was that you had to interact with the space that was around you. So they had all these different like activities set up, no phones allowed. You had to interact with the people that were directly around you. I mean, we as we will probably discuss today in the topic, we don't have that much time where there is just absolutely zero distractions. And we are completely focused on what is directly ahead of us or what surrounds us in that given moment. And I do really think there is always so much power in technology, but there is so much power in connection and just being really in that space. And I mean, I know we were setting up all of this stuff, but we were obviously, you wouldn't know, but we were recording a few bits before that as well. And it really feels like we've just been present. We've just been here. We've been really focused on each other and having an absolute laugh. I haven't belly laughed like that in a while.
Yeah.
Tears were streaming down my face.
Yeah.
Oh man.
But
Yeah.
but just that's how true connection should feel, as you say, that presence of moment where you can just laugh, you can just revel in the joy of those moments. And I'm just such an advocate of just having a space where technology doesn't permeate our lives, because it does so often, and I think we should really uphold that.
With those cafes, is it like that's like a permanent setup, or is it that they have like days set up where they sort of enact this ban on certain things where they've got to connect, or is it like that is what it's like all the time?
I believe that is the status quo.
Damn.
I think that cafe runs a strict no technology policy.
Unbelievable.
Which is awesome. I think they have instruments in there as well. They
Yeah.
have like pianos, and so it's just like a big giant playroom with strangers, and you just meet new people and live life a little bit more naturally.
Well, let's see. Maybe we can start something like that in Cambridge. That'd be
Maybe.
real cool.
Maybe.
But speaking of that connection, that sense of connection, it's a beautiful poetic segue to what we're focused on today, and that is friendship.
Yeah.
Ooh, boy. This is one of those podcasts where I feel like I'm the most prepared and also at the same time the least prepared. I think everyone's concept of friendship or what they take from friendship is completely different. So it's how much resonates from person to person. And there's been some fascinating things that I've read around this, and I'm really, really excited to dive into it. And I think before we maybe dive into the meaning of friendship, I think we need to, address the elephant in the room here.
Yeah, big one.
Yeah, huge.
Yeah.
We're not friends at all.
Yeah, it's a recent...
It's all for show.
Yeah.
It's all for show.
I actually loathe you. Can't stand to be in your presence.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just doing this for the maybe potential success I'll get riding on your coattails.
Yeah, the potential of financial reward from...
Yeah.
and I mean, this room to me screams financial reward.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, well, much like our friendship, it's a masquerade, so... no, but I mean...
But in all seriousness...
Yeah.
in all seriousness, I can't wait to dive into how this is all formed and the fact that we get to do this together. But can you remember where that friendship was formed? Do you remember where this all started?
I think so. And we might have differing stories on this. I believe it was at a friend's house, Ed Pooley's. Yeah. And we were sat round an open fire.
Yeah, it really was. There was no health and safety.
It was an unhinged.
It was an unhinged,
uncontrolled fire.
Made worse.
Made worse by the escapades of the night. Yeah, but no, I did. Yeah, it's one of those kind of like early formative. Like I think we all know them well. School parties where I think we were sat out the back around the campfire, and I think we just realized in that moment that we were very alike. Our humors were very well matched, and I just really loved your energy and your company. And we basically spent the entire night, just talking, and
every so often dodging exploding beer cans.
That's
what we'll give that little piece of information away. I wouldn't say this definitely wasn't us, but there was a campfire, massive campfire, loads of seats around it, beautiful setting. It was on someone's farm, I think. And people every so often in their maybe more inebriated state would just decide, what would be hilarious is to throw full cans unopened onto an open fire. So every so often you would be, we'd be diving into conversation, having a great time, and then boom, I know, just quick little dodges.
Yeah.
Just exploding beers. And if anything, that brought us closer together.
Yeah.
Both spiritually and physically in sheer fear.
Yeah. It was a life affirming moment in so many different ways.
It was.
Yeah.
But touching on something there where you mentioned our sense of humor aligns so well. And I would say that our sense of humor, I think, is our absolute driving force of friendship. I mean, you obviously wouldn't be able to tell this, but we're quite silly people. We enjoy being very, very silly. And I think that we marry in a way in our silliness that is unrivaled to anyone. I mean, I have a number of great friends, but that is something that has yet been replicated to the degree of which, where it's almost this synchronized thought process that seems to happen. The most minuscule thing could happen directly in front of us, and yet somehow we just seem to have. All it takes is one quick little look to the side. It's like, yeah, he's on board.
He's gone.
He knows. He's with me. He's with me on whatever the hell's happening here. But I see friendship as a real pillar in my life, and I think it's what has driven us to do a whole conversation around it. And there was actually the thing that I found super interesting right off the bat. I wouldn't be able to tell you the name of the study that I saw it on. I think this wasn't even directly a study, but I think it was that the impact of friendship on people. So it had been studied, right? Friendship had been studied, but the impact on like your mental state and your well-being, or the role it plays in your life, didn't actually start until somewhere in the region of like 1960, 1970. So they hadn't like separated it away from like working partners or elements of family. They hadn't studied it in that way, but then they really in the 60s and 70s started to look directly at friendship, and there was a plethora of physical and mental benefits. I don't know whether you came across the same, but not necessarily the 60s to 70s, but
yeah. I mean, I came across effectively similar studies that all echoed that same sentiment, that having friends, almost the more friends you have, and of course we might need to define the term friend as well. But having more of those friends significantly enhances your well-being, your health, your living years as well. Like I think they did a study in Australia, and they found that, I can't remember how many participants there were, I've got all the notes, but the 22 or 25% of the participants that had a larger set of friends, especially close friends, outlived the people that had a far fewer set of close friends as well. So, the science is in. We know that having those close relationships amplifies and fortifies our well-being.
There's actually two things that I'm going to ride with there. The first one is, in a way, actually, I kind of like it in terms of how your good news story linked in. But there is an organization called the Friendship Project, and their whole premise is that it is almost like mathematically possible to come across the same person twice in huge places such as like London. And this happiness project, they set up these different moments where they can meet with, they similar to the cafe, where you have spaces to go to as a group, events, or it can be as simple as doing a pub quiz or like going for a walk in the park. And they do this all over London. I'm guessing it's probably going to be wider than that as well, around the world. But they have done this, that they have like loads of research connected into what they did. And one bit is it suggests that friendship accounts for almost 60%, a 60% increase in levels of happiness. And also it is the equivalent of earning an extra, and this is in dollars, but so it's obviously not just in London. Good job from me. But it's like earning the equivalent of an extra $150,000 a year, or it is something in the region of like, it has such a physical impact. It's as if I think it was something like if you don't have those same friendships, it's like smoking 15 cigarettes a day.
I saw this.
Yeah, such a significant impact on your physical health, not being around those people, and the impact that friendship can have. And then also, which is maybe something we need to dive into a little bit more in a few ways, it's also to do with the volume of friends that you have. Like in your context or your perception, how many close friends do you feel you have? Because this is a thing, right? There's levels. You've got acquaintances, you've got friends, and then I'd say you've got close friends, and then maybe best friends. I would say that's like your
Yeah.
tier. How many? Let's start with best friends. How many best friends do you think you have?
I think I've probably got two best friends at most.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I suppose I'd define a best friend as someone that you feel as though you can just be yourself, you can be authentic, you feel heard, you feel understood, you share a kind of an openness with one another that feels unmatched, and you get a sense of that when you're comparing it to your other close friends. There's things you would share with your best friends you would never share with your close friends, or there's just a simpatico you have with your best friends that you just don't quite have with your close friends. But yeah, two best friends, maybe I don't know, 5 to 10 close friends.
Yeah.
I'd say.
That's I would fundamentally agree. I think, best friends, where you are going, as you say, just this level of that they know everything about you. You are connected in ways that is just almost a bit unfathomable at times. I think, and I can't include my sister in this because she is like family, but I consider her a best friend. But yeah, I think I would sit somewhere in the region of around 2. And then you do have, we were so fortunate as we were growing up to be exposed to just so many wonderful human beings that we've managed to keep in contact with. And I do consider really close friends. But that, when you then start to look beyond maybe the scope of, say, even like 10 people, like, so if you can combine your best friends and close friends, like when you start reaching beyond like 10, then it really starts to broaden out into the circle of just sort of friendship and acquaintances. Because let's dive back into this idea of what we got to experience at school. We had the good fortune of, well, we went through a time where there was primary school, middle school, upper school. Very different to what exists now. It's just a primary and a secondary. And when we reached the upper school level, we ended up having 3 schools, all really close, literally geographically together. And it was sort of connected through parties, right? Like all these different people would host things. We were just fortunate that people had a lot of money and big houses, fortunately.
Yeah.
I can't say we had the pleasure of the same. So we were exposed to an environment where we had loads of physical contact time with loads of different people. But for us, that's a really fortunate position to be in, because I imagine, I even speak to my sister about it, and she went to the same school. That didn't exist for her. Like, that no one in their year group sort of did anything like that. She has no connection to anyone she went to school with other than like very, very vaguely. And I think that's a really important thing to consider with friendship, is that we were given that opportunity when we were younger to have such massive exposure, social exposure, that then as a result of that, we started to build these qualities and these skills that then allowed you to make friends in loads of different scenarios. So as you go through, you build that bigger friendship circle. But can you remember anyone from school? Because I can remember some where that just wasn't the case at all. And how different were those interactions with that person?
You mean as in someone who didn't have that kind of
yeah?
same...
So because there was a big group of people that were a part of that, but there was also a whole group of people in that school environment where that wasn't the case, where they didn't have as many friends. And I'm just trying to then think back. Actually, was there any differences in the way you'd communicate or the way in which you became friends?
Yeah, I mean, I think us having that level of connectivity and the as you say, the sheer fortune to have that kind of experience, I think made us a little bit more adaptable, perhaps made us more conscious, or even just more confident, perhaps, with interacting with new people and being comfortable in spaces where you're meeting lots of new people. And And yeah, I think when I would speak with people that hadn't come from or hadn't had those experiences, I think you do sense a little bit more insecurity, or maybe a little bit more conscientiousness about the way that they're acting or behaving, or or even just, again, because they're just not accustomed to those being in those kind of spaces. I think they might find that prospect of meeting new people quite daunting as well. But I imagine even those people had still close,
but this is
relationships,
what I'm saying.
Close friendships. Yeah.
When you then start to break down the sense of what friendship means, it's that every single person out there is going to have those. Well, not every single person, because naturally, like, loneliness is a growing factor in society, brought on by so many different things. But it's how big that friendship circle starts, and then where that grows to. And actually, the premise of having those really, really close friends, those best friends, has such a monumental impact that it actually doesn't matter how many people you are exposed to or how many friends you do actually have. It's actually the true power comes from how connected you are to the people that you're around. Because when you then take the flip side of our situation, is that we got to see all of those different people, but if we were just seeing, if every one of those interactions was just fleeting, we might have perceived that we had loads of friends, so to speak. But actually, when it really mattered, when you needed to have those big conversations with someone, maybe there are a number of people that were in that circle that didn't get to experience that.
So I mean, it's so interesting because now I'm thinking about it. Actually, you know, my school years, my formative years, is probably the time where I felt, how do I describe this? I felt popular, I suppose. I felt like someone who was...
You fucking big boy.
Yeah. It's true though. I mean, it was a time in my life where I was just connected with so many different social circles. But actually, off the back of that, there was a period in my life where I was kind of trying to hang on to that experience and try to recreate it, and neglecting overlooking, should I say, the actual really meaningful friendships I had in my life and the ones that actually nourished me the most, and was too concerned with trying to, recreate a situation that I had without recognizing that moment was a moment. It was situational. It was, as you say, it was proximal. It was a fact. Yeah. It was just us.
Look, I've been able to spend time and be with all of these different people.
Why can't I do that again?
Yeah, and it's almost that sort of like dopamine hit, isn't it? Of like trying to come across and meet new people and build that friendship circle, and then actually, and that's where we would definitely have to return to, is that as you go into then later life, actually the volume means nothing.
Yeah,
truly.
Yeah,
the volume means nothing,
and the volume will drastically reduce. I can tell you that.
Yeah. Well, this is, I think, a nice position to sort of take it down. Is that I think friendship served a certain purpose when we were younger, but we were all literally developing human beings. Like we're still navigating the world, trying to figure things out. And we were very fortunate that we got to formulate some really strong friendships. That might not be the case for absolutely everybody, but I can guarantee you that during those years, you found certain friendships that you were then able to sort of hold on to for a very long time. And then as you go through life, that volume naturally decreases. I mean, I wish I had it directly in front of me right now, but there is some statistics which literally suggest that. I think it was something absolutely ridiculous in change. I think it was something like, there we go. So the social connections you form as a young adult are also incredibly influential in ensuring you have quality connections in later life, because as research shows, your social circle, sharply drops by nearly half after the age of 25. And that would be expected, right? There's so much of life starts to really kick in. Everyone's disappears around the world, literally. Loads of people, different life priorities. You might have children, or you might have a very, very busy job, or whatever might be the case. And it always, every time I feel like I talk about friendship, I feel like we're so fortunate to have met so many wonderful people. But the bit that really sits to the core of friendship for me is the people that I get to surround myself with on a more regular basis. And it is sort of that 6 to 10 set of people, that group that you're with. And it is in that little bubble there that I feel friendship has its biggest impact on me.
So, of that bubble of close friends that you have, and the friendships that are really meaningful to you, what are the qualities in those friendships or those people that make them those close friends?
Oh, tell you, it's a big old loaded question. That one is a loaded question, because I think in just the nature of human beings, I think what I value in friendships is the individuality that is brought by each different person you have as a friend. Like, I would say that the friendship that you and I have is very singular, but then there is a friendship that, say, for example, I have with Rob, which is equally as close, but is very in its own right, kind of very different as well. And as I go through that, so each of you have your own personality traits, but there's some core principles to it, which I think I really connect to. Number one is definitely, I think, a sense of humor. I enjoy just with absolute love having a fucking goofy conversation. I love it. I absolutely adore it. And I think if someone is able to bounce that sort of energy back off me, and especially when I meet someone that I've not met before, if someone can bounce that sort of energy off me, we can get on very, very quickly.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's the ultimate icebreaker, isn't it?
Oh,
and
man.
I think as well, a sense of humor says a lot about that person, because it means they don't take themselves too seriously. And that's such a valuable quality. But go on.
Yeah. Another thing revolves around honesty. So I think that if you are, everyone holds a part of themselves to themselves. I think even you and I, right? I would say we probably know 95% about the other person, but I think anybody out there would be lying to say that they have said or revealed absolutely every element of themselves to the other person. So and that's not even about not being honest. That's just a part of life. I think it's self-preservation rather than anything. But I think when you're in conversation with someone, if the majority of what they are saying, you can sense that there is this openness, this honesty that they're putting on you, or that there isn't like going to be that I'm going to say something and then they'll perceive that they'll hold a certain line on it of being supportive, and then actually very quickly you learn that that's then taken elsewhere and it's shared very differently. I think that is also a massive red flag if that happens. So honesty, and I think it's also just sort of this sense of creativity and wonder and this sort of desire to desire to do something in life. This is obviously a really like specific situation. That's not what I'm necessarily saying, but it's almost like having a passion, having something that they really enjoy sort of spending time with. And it gets even better when it's a mutual passion where we get to share that. I think I'll pause there. There's about 7,000 different things. So let me turn that goddamn question on you.
Onto me.
I'm gonna let me load this up, throw it back your way.
I think sense of humor is a good one. But I think the standout ones to me are authenticity. in whatever that looks like. I think that's a really attractive quality. I think you can feel the pull or the magnetism towards that. If someone is just being unequivocally themselves.
I'm going to give a shout out to Mr. Ross Neville. That man is the most authentic person I think I have ever met in my entire life. Just unapologetically so. He's shout out
an
to you, my man.
inspiration.
I love you. I fucking love you.
Yeah. He is an absolute inspiration in that regard. So yeah, authenticity and a lack of judgment. And
oh, God damn it, you son of a bitch.
I think but these two almost work in tandem with one another.
For sure.
You either have just like in Ross's case, right? You either just are authentic because it's just a core part of who you are, that authentic, and it means a lot to you, and you know nothing else but to be authentically you. But a lot of other people, myself included, if I'm with the wrong person or the wrong individual who I feel holds a judgment of me or of others in the room, I will less likely be myself, or I will act in accordance with their energy or the way that they're perceiving it. Whereas, if I can only get close to someone if they hold no judgment, they reserve no judgment on the things I'm saying, I'm doing, not in the sense that they wouldn't contravene me or have a difference of opinion, or it's nothing to do with that. It's more to do with just, I can say I feel the empowerment and the freedom to say what I want, to be who I need to be, without as an overarching sense of they are secretly judging me for those things. And that's super important to me. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
There is, not to jump on that bandwagon, but there is this is a no naming names thing, but there is someone that is still actually a really good friend. It is a really good friend of mine, but there was a window of time in probably a couple of years ago now where I was seeing this person and I was having those exact thoughts of like, it just feels like I'm getting a version of someone, or you are portraying a certain version of yourself, and as a result I'm having to sort of change how I'm interacting with you, and also the friendships that you are around. And then actually on a one-to-one basis, it feels like you want to sort of, because it sort of changes slightly and you want to kind of open up, but there is this distrust that was created because they weren't authentic in that given moment. Unfortunately, that has changed in more recent times. It feels like that is like maybe a growth period that they've gone through. But man, those are two really, yeah. Mm-hmm. Got one more for me?
Do I have one more? What did I say? So I said authenticity, a lack of judgment, and I mean, I did like your one about honesty and loyalty. That's a good one. Gosh,
because let's jump on the loyalty one.
Yeah,
because loyalty, it can also represent, I think, where that person will call you out on something or tell you where you haven't got something quite right.
Yes.
It's a willingness to have those amazing times together, but then at the same time, when the moment's right, be like, actually, have you thought about this, or have you considered how this is coming across, or how, and I think that is a huge linking back into honesty and loyalty. They're all sort of interconnected, the ones that we picked out, but that's also a really, really important one for me. Mm-hmm. And linked into this honesty and this loyalty, I also, it would have been interesting to have maybe a couple of other friends here, but certainly from like a male perspective as well. I think that we are fortunate that we are willing to be quite open and honest with each other. Whereas I think it is safe to say that there is still a huge culture within a lot of men that sense of sharing is taboo. Like you can't go down that. And I mean, I can't remember who I was talking to, but there was someone I was talking to not that long ago, where they were talking about that they had they were learning these new skills, right? Whatever those might have been, and then their friends sort of like turned their nose. And I suppose in the context of who this person was, it's kind of like a bit more of a out of their lane type situation. And then all of their mates were kind of like jumping on that and being like, "Oh, you know, why the hell would you want to learn that X, Y, and Z?" And I think in a previous time, I think that line would have just been held, and it would have sort of changed what you were doing X, Y, and Z. But then what was interesting is that actually, as then a very short window of time disappeared, those same friends came back and go, "Actually, you know what, man? That's a really, really cool thing that you're doing." And I'm actually kind of jealous of what it is. And I see that as such that is the direction that we've got to go in, because there is obviously the extreme of that a lot of men suffer in silence, obviously high levels of suicide associated with men, and the more that premise of being honest is pushed into a culture that was quite dominant, but hopefully people can see that there's elements of that culture that doesn't work. I think that's when you start to really discover what friendship can do to you.
Yeah. I mean, it just when you were speaking on that, right? My third quality would have been vulnerability.
Oh yeah. Hey, I gave you that. I'm taking credit.
You teed me up there.
I did. I teed you up, but you did knock it out of the park, man.
I did.
You did.
I got a good hit on that one. But yeah, that ability to be vulnerable is such a powerful mechanism to, I think, again, that's an incredible icebreaker as well. If you meet someone and off the bat, they're just able to open themselves up and talk on things you would often find shameful. And I think that's often where men struggle as well, is that even with their closest friends, right? When the incident happens, they're shocked. They're aghast that they weren't there for them, and they didn't notice these behaviors. And I think it's, again, men hold a very significant or high level of shame around wanting help or needing help or reaching out or being vulnerable and just saying, shit, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to get past this. I need help. And often that help doesn't even need to be, unsolicited advice it just needs to be presence and simply listening to that person. But I think doubling down on that particular element of being able to have a friend who you could just be vulnerable with, and also know that there's no shame in being vulnerable and asking for help.
And that's why I'm always so interested. Like, it's that polarizing sense around what social media does, right? Because on the one hand, and again, this is studies for absolute days, we are the most connected that we have ever been. We just have endless volumes of technology that can connect people at all moments, right? So you have these outlets to share yourself and to connect with people, talk with people, converse with people. So on the one side, you kind of see it as that, social media helps to connect people, and those same people that maybe were not sharing are sharing a little bit, or maybe they're sharing certain aspects. But then I'm also curious, because of the design of these apps, that certainly with Instagram, right? Instagram is the one where you're sort of posting the photos from your holiday and X, Y, and Z. So that's the bit that I find really interesting around how well you actually know people, or how well, when you say you've made friends through these outlets, how well you actually know them, because they might be posting these certain things to show themselves off in this certain way, but actually on the inside, they're feeling absolutely pretty shit about things. Mm-hmm. And it's trying to then strike that balance of saying that, yes, you are connected with all these different people. It's a way in which you can stay connected with friends, but actually it's the importance of seeing people in the physical space, actually meeting up with that person. That is still such a pivotal element to what makes friendship, or what helps to make a healthy friendship, or help you see the impact of friendship.
Yeah, the physical interaction. Yeah. And social media, again, it's such a strange one, as you say, because
people are making way more, like, people are making way more friends. No, but I wouldn't even say, I'm not even going to do that. A lot of people are making a lot of friends through the online space. So there is no deny that does have an impact on friendship. I just think that it has changed the way in which friendships can sometimes then exist, or the role that they can play within your life.
Yeah. Okay. Sure. So, is that you can uphold a pretense of friendship through social media. You can still meet lots. You can still meet lots of people, and you can still make meaningful friendships. But the way we interface with social media changes the way in which we maintain those relationships.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, in a way. Because if I sort of break away from social media for a second, but like when I was younger, I used to play this online game. It's called Assault Cube. That was it. It was this online sort of first person shooter game, and it was the first you had like clans and stuff like that, and I was part of these different clans, and you got to know like this online community, and it was that you spent so much time playing these games with these people that they did legitimately feel like that they were friends of mine in a way. I know it kind of it isn't silly. Like, that is how a lot of people experience friendship. But at the end of the day, if you don't see them in the physical space, there is a line of what you can provide to that person. But I think the moment you then take that back into the physical space, even if it's only just for like a little bit of time, that for me is where the true power of friendship is. I think the online space can offer so much, but I don't think it will ever be able to replicate the power of actually physically being in someone's presence.
Yeah. Well, again, I think there is an energy that is present in the room when you're with that person. It's visceral. It's feeling. It's tactile. You can actually, as you say, it's.
I can fucking touch you.
Yeah, but I mean, that's it, though, isn't it? Like, you can't replicate that experience. I think maybe mentally you feel like but there's perhaps a whole mind body experience that is lost through social media.
Well, think about it as we get older, right? That many of our friendships rely, like so you go beyond best friends, maybe even closest friends. I mean, even as part of some of your closest friends, people are all over the country, all over the world. You don't get to see them that much, so you do kind of have to rely on that. But the bit that helps those close friendships stay the way that they are is that you have those moments, even if it is like every couple of months, that you come back to the physical space and you spend time with them, and then you just feel this overwhelming sense of connection once again. Like, I love conversating with I listen. I want to know out there, I am a terrible texter. I am useless.
Preach.
Oh my God. Like, but it's something that then really plays on my mind. I will be honest, that it's a really frustrating trait of mine. And I'm just so curious how widespread that is. Do you know what I mean? Because it's nothing to do with the person that I'm trying to talk to. It is all to do with me and these just irrational reasons for not dropping a text. That whether I honestly haven't been able to figure out why that is. I mean, you share that with me. Have you been able to find out why that is the case for you?
I think it's the way my mind operates, and for me to text back or to actively text someone would require an overhaul of my mode of operation, the way that my mind works, because I will see that text and in earnest be like, oh, that's really cool that they sent me that text.
Oh, I'll make sure I message
them. But then in the time that I've felt that I should message them to when I should message them, something else has happened.
Yeah.
And then my attention's now been drawn elsewhere till it gets to a point where
It's gone so far.
that I'm like, God,
Jesus Christ, if I message back now, it's like...
I'm going to look an absolute arsehole.
Yeah.
So it's an active practice, isn't it? I think when it comes to actually
Absolutely.
being more considerate about texting back. But I suppose this harks back to, social media gives us that little safety net when we're not, when we're terrible texters. Because otherwise, as you say, you'd probably lose
your life in a way. Yeah.
You just lose connection with friends that actually do mean a lot to you.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Oh God, I'll have to see if I can find this. There was a study on that. Is that it was something along the lines of I'm not going to try and paraphrase it. Let me move past that. But the premise of what's happened there is that there is this like really weird cross-sectional element of like the people that you maybe meet in an online space and you spend a lot of time with them, and as a result of being like really dedicated to that online space, actually you're a really great communicator online and you will stay connected, but then you won't maybe necessarily make the effort to see them online. And then you might have the people who are like what I consider, so like I will give my undivided attention to the person that's in the room. Like when I see that person, I will give them all of me and I will share absolutely everything. But yeah, I'm so bad at texting that you're right. Like you end up feeling like a bit of a bad friend. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah.
So yeah, it feels it's a thing that I've got to grow through. That's for sure. And it's whether that is a shared experience. I feel like it's a shared experience. Honestly, like it's so classic to get that text back saying, "Oh man, I'm so sorry." Like it's not. I've wanted to reach out. Just how life goes, right? And that's the danger of, in my opinion, not arranging to see someone in the physical space, because if you know that you're going to see someone in the next couple months or so, even if you are a bad texter, you've got that lifeline there to really continue to have that relationship as strong as it can be.
So speaking on being bad texters,
Oh no.
And you mentioned the word bad friend. Sometimes you feel like you're a bad friend. It's how do we constitute a bad friend? Okay, maybe start this again. So what do you think about your personal flaws when it comes to friendship? And I imagine whatever you're going to say here probably is a shared feeling amongst many people when it comes to some of the things they think they're not doing well enough in the friendships they do have. So bad texting is one. So maybe not bad communication, because I'm sure you do. As you say, when you are within in the space.
Holy shit! I don't even know if that's a question I can answer. Honestly,
probably requires more reflection.
It's not even yeah, it does require more reflection, but I suppose it comes back to that conversation of honesty from others. But I don't think we want to maybe open that can of worms right now. But like, sure. I can't tell you how I don't think I can tell you how I'm being a bad friend. I would need someone objective to go, because I know, well, for a fucking matter of fact, I definitely can, let's think. Something that, it's something, okay, this is something that I've maybe grown upon, like really, really thought about, is just ensuring that my first point of call is to listen. So instead of interjecting unnecessarily into a conversation, it's more about actually leaning more into the question that I can pose to the person on the other side of the table. I think probably when I was younger, maybe just bred through the background in sport, this sense of maybe confidence that gave me, or whatever that might be, that I would maybe just try and be in that conversation by vocally being in that conversation. And that's not necessarily something that someone's said directly to me, but sometimes you can just get an energy, or like you maybe just take a bit of a moment to think or reflect on how maybe you've acted in previous situations. And I feel, and hopefully this is how other people feel, that now I really, really try to be the person that listens. Because that is, to be honest, it's a rule to life that I feel like I really want to abide by. Is that in the context of all of this, I am really an infant. We can get to this point now, but if you think about the scale of where it can go to, like I'm an absolute infant. So me putting there's a difference between sort of having an opinion and something and wanting to create a direction for yourself versus just being like, oh, this is how you should do it because this is how I've done it, right? So being able to listen from both the professional perspective and then also a friendship perspective, I feel like I've strengthened my friendships by being much more willing to just sit and listen and really actually not say that much. And God, this is a personal goddamn therapy session. Jesus Christ.
Well, I mean, this is
that a fair analogy? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say that a lot of us are guilty of that hero complex of having a bit of a preoccupation with wanting to save that person, quote unquote, right? And offer unsolicited advice rather than just listening to them. And as you've rightfully said, sometimes the best thing you can do is just pose a question based off what you're hearing and allow them to come to their own conclusions rather than you.
This is what I think you should do in this scenario. It's like, okay, well, yeah, take it down the road. So this is how you're feeling about it. Like, what do you feel? How do you feel like you want to go about tackling that problem? I also think there's a lot more invigorating conversation as well. You get to learn a lot about the person on the other side of the table when that is what your forethought is.
Yeah.
Do you feel? Because I mean, I think it's a difficult question to ask, Matt. Do you feel like you can recall times where you've been a bad friend?
Yeah, as you say, it's so hard to. I think you're so right about having that objective person in the room, or having someone else tell you, which is also really hard to be bear and witness to. But you can't recall your behavior well enough to know that you'd been a bad friend, because also your perception of a bad friend is very different to what someone else they might think you're an amazing friend, and you're actually going, oh, I thought I've been a terrible friend, or haven't done this well enough.
And that's where that shift in like recognizing the individuality of like one friendship in a given moment is that what might make us be good friends together, if you applied that same principle somewhere else, that might not then translate in the same way. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's a tough one. I mean, I'd say I think again, you can only call upon your own personality, and that probably plays into the way you conduct yourself in those friendships, right? I think sometimes I try to actively work on presence as well. And listening probably comes into that, but when I'm with that person, I want to try and be as present as I possibly can. And sometimes I haven't been. My mind's been elsewhere. I've been preoccupied with my own thoughts. And it's a classic case sometimes of like, right, you're not listening. You've already loaded your mind with an answer you're going to give, regardless of what that person is going to say, which could change in a moment. And yeah, I think I try to make a very, very active consideration to just almost try and make my mind blank and just be present and just listen to what they have to say rather than being lost in my own mind.
Well then, so I think that's a nice way for us to think about this next point actually. How do you work to either make friends or maintain a strong friendship with someone else? What do you think you need to do? What do you need to put out there to help bring about this continued friendship?
With the friends I already have?
Mm-hmm. Can also be how to make new friends as well. You can tie them both together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I feel like they're kind of separate issues. When it comes to maintaining friendships, I think that showing some selflessness is really important. In the sense of being there for those people when they didn't know they needed it sometimes. And yeah, I think be the kind of friend that you would want to have as well. And I think respect their value, respect their worth, and also respect your worth as well and what you might give to that person. I think these are all really important ways that we can help maintain and nourish those friendships. Even just speaking on some of the core principles about or core values within the friendships that we hold really close to our hearts, and that is vulnerability, that is loyalty, that is honesty, that is kindness, sense of humor. All of those things combined, it's staying true to those principles and those values, and trying to feed that into those friendships that you already have. I think super important. Making friends, now that is interesting, because I was actually I've had this conversation a couple of times with my girlfriend Susie about how do you make friends. For all the girls out there that
yeah, he's taking ladies.
We discussed this. We said actually making friends as you get older, is so much harder than when you were younger, because again, what we were talking about earlier, right? That situational, proximal circumstance where you make friends by virtue of the thing you're doing, which is school. And I
say this to the kids all the time, right? Is that like, yeah, you might have a number of people at school that you don't like, but you will never get this again. Like, just be amongst it, enjoy it. Right?
Yeah. So how do you make new friends when you're getting, as you get older? I think you have to be courageous. I think you have to be confident. I think you have to be experimental in a way, don't you? You have to go out there, and maybe the vessel could be a passion or a hobby. So you're really into a particular, like let's say you're into running or cycling, or I don't know, then you go and join a group and you try and make friends through there. Or
but I think the principle of what you're saying there is you got to go out and do.
You have to do.
You have to do. I mean, the happiness project or the friendship project is a premise of that, right? So if you've got a passion in something, see if you can go and find other people with that same passion. Like that first sense of having a common interest is where the core principle starts. It is in my eyes an underlying feature of serotonin. It's that I want to put things out there which you can do, and you can just meet people who enjoy doing similar things or just are looking to sort of look after their own well-being, right? And that naturally breeds these moments of connection. Like the football for well-being thing, right? It's crazy. Like the other day we went out for we met up as a group just down the pub. There was 17 of us turned up for that. Right, and we were all people we didn't know. Prior to starting that football, none of us knew each other. So that common interest of football brought all those people together, and now some of those people have been to some of my events. Some people like me up outside of the group. Like, it's getting friendships is doing, but it does come then that sense of having to have some confidence to do that, which is often the hardest bit to try and sort of work your way around. But bring you back to the sense of maintaining friendships, right? Because I think the gaining of friendships is definitely harder when you're older because of situational factors. Like you had a group, very close people, they've then split away. You have to find new ways to meet new people, right? But I think it's also about seeing friendship in the sense of maintaining. It's like it's a verb. It's like a doing thing, right? And we touched on all those different traits to what it is. But it's this idea of caring for someone, like doing things for that person, which doesn't solicit you have like anything back for you. You don't gain anything from it. It's just that sense of being there for that person. It can be as minimal as just going for like a 10-minute catch up round someone else's house. It's like think of like, you know, when we were recording the thing for the beer thing the other day, like we were at your house for 30 minutes and then we're gone.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And it's the same premise of anything like that, where you spend a bit of time, physically commit your time. It's the most valuable commodity as you get older and in all of life. But especially as you get older, you giving your time to that person highlights to that person that I value this friendship and I'm willing to give up my time to make sure that you get to feel the fact that I value that friendship.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think you can be a silent martyr, right? You don't have to, you know, profess all the things you're doing in order to try and maintain that relationship. There's power in just, and it could, as you say, I think also never overlook the importance of what you might bring to that friendship as well, because that's an important part of maintenance, right? Because you might convince yourself that, oh, I've probably outgrown this person. Maybe they've got other friends. Maybe they don't really want to speak to me anymore. They seem to have a lot of friends. And you know, maybe my role in their life has kind of taken a different turn. Whereas actually, maybe they're thinking something completely different about you.
Like, oh, goddamn,
I really miss that person. I really wish they would just speak to me. I really wish they'd send me a text. I really wish they would connect with me in some way. And I think if you can find the power in who you are and the joy you might bring to that person, then it would probably encourage you to reach out more and spend more time, find more time with those people.
Man, that was beautiful.
Wow.
That was bloody beautiful. It was, you know, that was such a funny episode because I researched for this episode and it's such a lived experience in a way that some of the research reaffirmed the things that we were saying quite honestly. But it's just such a personal experience. But the truth of the matter is, for us, our culture, friendship is important. Cultures around the world doesn't necessarily share it. So it might be that there's people that watch this that actually where that relationship with friends is very, very different. But certainly in the context of what we experience, there is absolutely no denying the power of friendship, the happiness that can bring you. And I mean, mate, being able to sit across this table with you and record this podcast, we've said it over and over again. This could be seen by no one truly, and it's that in 20 years' time we could look back on some of these podcasts and think of the memories that those things have created, and that will outlive, you know, the value or the, you know, what other value that the video might have. So, man, I love you, buddy.
I love you too,
man.
Truly.
Oh, you beautiful soul.
All
right. Now be careful here. We're on camera.
Yeah, I know.
You made me cry. Yeah, but that was beautiful, man.
Yeah.
And it's also great just to be back around this table getting these podcasts done.
Yeah,
Let's keep this fucking ball rolling, man.
For sure. And I really actually hope that this episode, if you are listening, helps you reflect on some of the friendships you do have, and maybe just evokes a feeling and just makes you realize how important you are to those people and how important those people are to you. So,
people, if you want to see more stuff like this, you got to be following Expressions of Happiness on Instagram, and also follow Serotonin Sessions, I think, on Instagram. Link that into the YouTube channel, which is where this podcast gets released. The parent channel, you know. But Expressions of Happiness really is its own baby.
Beautiful offspring.
Yeah, exactly. Beautiful offspring that we're really committed to. So people, thank you so much for listening or watching, however you have indulged in David Hart's sexy voice. And we'll see you the next time round.